Fizzles in the hizzle! Time for another top 10 list based on video game characters. This list is based on my own personal, not yours mind you, top 10 favourite video game characters ever in the history of ever. Not yours. So please don't bitch when Mario, Link, GLaDOS, Shodan, Leon Kennedy, Samus Aran, your mum, Travis Touchdown, Elton John, Andrew Ryan, and that dog that follows you in Fallout 3 don't get mentioned here. So suck it. Go! Cicero! For those people who still to this day claim that Skyrim is a bad game because they either suck at it or just don't get it, Cicero is probably one of the game's most memorable characters. Being given the task of protecting and preserving the body of the Night Mother, Cicero has taken his calling very seriously. So seriously in fact that all other forms of sanity in his life have been sucked out, and now Cicero kinda goes about the place not giving a fuck, pissing off the Sanctuary's leader, abusing vampire children, and most likely teabagging you in your sleep. Cicero is one of those wacky uncontrollable characters who can't keep himself calm for more than 2 seconds before bouncing off the walls and starting a fight with the local werewolf just because he thought it'd amuse him. And to be honest, I don't think you get characters like that enough in video games these days.
Working 9 to 5, what a way to make a living.
Morrigan! By far one of the most memorable and unique female characters for me was Morrigan from Dragon Age Origins and that really crap and pointless Witch Hunt DLC, where you're basically trying to pick up your ex-girlfriend because she's carrying your child. I reckon most men in that case would have just let her go so that she has something to eat after giving birth to the Antichrist. Sorry to go off on a tangent here, but you spend 2 hours running around looking for Morrigan by smelling her farts, after which you find her and then have the worst conversation where the two of you go, "Can I bang you? No. Can I bang you? No. Can I bang you? No. Can I bang you?" Alright then. See, the moral of the story here is that 3 no's and a yes means yes. Anyway, back to the main point. Morrigan had such a different upbringing than most, being raised on the flesh of innocent virgins, all the while being provided for by the fabled, shape-shifting, child-deducting demon motherfucker of the woods. And before you can say George Osborne reference, Morrigan gets picked up by the hero of Ferelden, who still remains nameless, but I like to think he's called Fuck You. That way, when he's presented to King Alistair at the end of the game, the minstrel is all like, "Presenting the hero of the kingdom, fuck you." But because of her upbringing, Morrigan doesn't exactly have a grasp on the classic concept of morality and compassion, and whilst we're on the subject, you can go ahead and add people skills to that list. However, this does mean that occasionally, she'll come out with a suggestion that will take me by surprise, and in some cases, I've found that she has a point. Why would I give a homeless man some money so that he can then have a hot meal, when I could just kill him and have done with it? That way he won't need that hot meal anymore. Or that homie he was in need of. I mean, give a man a fish and you'll feed him for a day. Kill that man and he won't need feeding ever again. Sorry mate, I've got bigger fish to fry and it's one of yours.
And hold on tight, cause it's gonna be wilder than any 8-second ride.
The leader of the 3rd Street Saints. This is kind of a personal entry, as this character doesn't technically exist, or at the very least, no one other than myself has ever experienced this character exactly as I have. Not counting the first Saints Row game, purely because that's the only one I haven't played. Upon firing up a new game, you're asked to create a character from scratch, and seeing as Saints Row the 3rd was the first one I played, I soon discovered that you could dick about with the character creation. Ever since then, every time I play a new Saints game, I always go for the same character. That being a really beefed up male with some small form of facial hair. And then I go and ruin the image by giving him a female voice, styling his hair to make him look like a crossdresser, and kitting him out in either a very revealing dress or hot pants and matching boob tube. Then I get to spend the rest of the game running around shooting people and beating gangbangers over the head with a 6-foot dildo as a sexually confused thug, and no one ever calls me up on it. I'm just known as the badass leader of the 3rd Street Saints, and no one has ever asked me if I'm actually a transsexual. Like, they're all okay with it. Which is strange to think in a town where people get inked up with acid instead of ink, where aliens invade and destroy the world, and yet Nightblade still somehow manages to survive the apocalypse. I guess with all of this crazy shit going on, everyone's kind of thought that the fact that the Saints boss is possibly transgender isn't particularly out of the ordinary in comparison to everything else.
Lane Goodman.
7!
The Postal Dude!
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Nope, I'm not kidding, and please don't swear.
Fuck you.
For those hardcore True Review veterans out there, yes, all 3 of you, or even those who have watched my previous videos, may have gotten the hint that I think that this dude is fucking awesome, and his many quotes have me on my arse in a flash, and not in the please enter me kind of on my arse. Though I'd take it all the way up there if that means we get to play a decent Postal game again in the near future, and not just what Uwe Boll is jizzed on. Though the protagonist of the Postal series seems to attract that special kind of crazy in the same way that the next-gen consoles attract knobheads, the Postal dude still somehow manages to keep a cool f*** you kind of cool attitude that spells out f*** you to all those who would ruin his cool. In particular, Postal 2 did very well at allowing the player to take that extra step in degrading their victims by either pissing on their corpse, or setting them alight and then putting it out by pissing on their corpse. I mean, there is more to this game than just pissing on corpses, but since I can't do that in other games, I'll take every opportunity I'll get to take a leak on a stereotypical Bin Laden terrorist. Or the local priest.
Now the flowers will grow.
April Ryan. I'm betting a lot of you didn't see this coming, and I'm also betting a lot of you have no idea who I'm talking about, so I'm putting a link at the bottom of the screen right now that will redirect you to your punishment for not playing this game. But whilst what I said before about Morrigan being one of the most memorable female characters, April Ryan from the point-and-click adventure game The Longest Journey wins the title of Best Female Character for me hands down without a fight. And yes, Cammy, Alex Vance or Tits McGee, aka Lara Croft, have nothing on April in my opinion. What sets April apart from all the other female characters in the history of gaming is not her looks or what she stands for, or how big her kick-ass to health recovering ratio is, it's actually her personality. April Ryan isn't exactly the most attractive girl. She's not supposed to be. She's cast as an ordinary girl stuck in an ordinary boring life doing ordinary boring shit like painting, hanging out at the coffee shop and getting hit on by the local dick. That is until she's thrown into a magical and dangerous parallel world filled with bright and colourful characters, and it turns out April is destined to save both her world and this new one. But this game, despite its infinite amount of charm falling out of every corner of the screen, stood out mainly because of such a fantastic main character. Though April's been thrown into this new world, she still manages to deal with it by working her two main personal strengths, sarcasm and intelligence, such as signing on to work on a mining asteroid as a slave in all but name, and thanking the recruitment officer in a mocking up yours kind of way for the opportunity. What's refreshing about April is that she doesn't fall into the two traditional categories of female characters, where Fembot number 1 is the daughter of Rambo and a complete badass, or Fembot number 2, some generic princess that the player has running around for, trying to get her back, and that female character continuously shouting. Video game characters nowadays tend to just go with the flow when something outrageous or out of the ordinary happens, but April Ryan is one of those few characters who will generally watch something out of the ordinary happen, stand back, turn to the screen and go, what the fuck was that about? I guess what I'm trying to say is that she's possibly the most genuine and believable character around. There. I can't believe it took me that long to come up with that reason. Just wasted a whole few minutes where she's believable would have cut it. Whatever. Next. Guybrush Threepwood. As a character with charisma coming out of his armpits, and I swear at one point he claims to have plus 10 charisma anyway, how can anyone not like the star of the Monkey Island series, Guybrush Threepwood? Starting out as a young man who dreams of becoming a pirate, Guybrush spends the rest of the series trying to prove that he's a legitimate pirate, despite being a pacifist and a charitable soul in some cases, trying to protect his governess turned pirate wife Elaine, and defeating the evil yet completely incompetent pirate ghost LeChuck. But while Guybrush's ability to think quickly on his feet is impressive, it's his quick wits and boyish charm that makes him a very memorable character. What I'm trying to say is that he's believable. Actually, no he's not. Though he does add a sense of realism to an otherwise wacky world in which he's the only one that seems to be concerned about how something in his world doesn't make sense, though he's quick to let this go when random events work in his favour. Ha! Context. We meet again, you convenient bastard.
Just like what dreams may falter, be back what make it turn. 4 times to make it happen.
Bob Paige. And now we move on to the more serious characters on this list. Bob Paige is the main antagonist from the 2000 smash hit game Deus Ex, and if you've never played this before, then I'm gonna have to get you to go back to that punishment video again. As the head of an evil organisation hell-bent on world domination by fucking everyone up on the planet, Bob Paige is the lone wolf at the head of the pack. Seen by the world as a generous and brilliant philanthropist, but in reality being a cold and ruthless dickhead, Bob Paige conditions the world so that he can one day rise to become a god in a literal sense. Though unfortunately he doesn't appear in the game as much as I would have liked him to. I did however find that most of his messages and encounters were something special. There's something menacing and confident about his persona that is carried in his voice, which is remarkable seeing as this game hasn't got good facial animations, and when Bob Paige issues you a threat, you most definitely feel it through the computer screen, and I'm tempted to write a letter to Cliff Stevens, Bob Paige's voice actor, asking for forgiveness for ever thinking that you had a chance of winning against Paige and that you'd have a happy ending where the world returns to normal. So far he hasn't written back.
1, 2, 3, follow me, with me, got 180 degrees.
Vass! Though I could make a Kevin Bacon no-brainer joke, I think I'll save that for another time because I'm most likely going to use it at some point. Vass is bast. Best. He's awesome. A life of human trafficking and hardcore drugs has certainly done a number on his sanity, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't actually know the meaning of sanity despite banging on about it so much. If you're unfamiliar with Far Cry 3, then trust me, you're missing out, but Vass definitely stands out as one of the best parts of the game. Not even being the main antagonist, something of which I think Far Cry 3 might have failed to get right. Vass is one of those characters that is completely unhinged and malevolent, yet despite his psychotic nature, you kind of cheer to yourself when his face appears on the screen. Definitely not in this game enough, but like a heavy turd on the toilet bowl that's been there for a while, it's just enough to leave a lasting mark. Trevor Phillips! I've recently found that this guy is like having someone putting their balls on your chin. You'll either love it or you'll hate it. And much in the same way as having this graphic image done to you, most people admit that they don't like it. But I couldn't disagree more. I love the balls on chin combo that's Trevor Phillips. I couldn't get enough of him. Looking like the prehistoric man just woke up and found himself in the middle of a mosh pit, Trevor Phillips is so unpredictably crazy that every word that comes out of his mouth is such a gem that his words might as well be encrusted in carbon. An example of what I mean comes from the first time we see him in GTA 5, and I'll let you know now that I'm about to resemble Thrush and that I'm about to be an irritating c*** and spoil some of the game if you haven't played it already. In that case, go watch the punishment video again whilst I do this next bit. Within the first 5 minutes of being introduced to this new character, he's knobbed some dirty tramp, killed Johnny Klebitz, the main character of the Lost and Damned episode from GTA 4, and then executed Order 66 on an entire group of bikers. I was actually shocked the most when Johnny died because I kind of liked him, but seeing as I wanted to get into character, I drove over his body in a Jeep and then reversed over his twitching corpse several times, all because of the sensation that was Trevor Phillips. Though being a latecomer to the best characters party, Trevor has managed to quickly become one of my favourite characters. He could have even made the number 1 spot had it not been for 2 of his murders that I took issue with, though I think I'll put the Thrush reference away here and not spoil that part, but for those of you who have played this game, I think you'll know the bit I mean. Anyway, this means that...
One more time, got me feeling free.
Solid Snake takes the prize as best character ever. And no amount of blonde-haired pussy that's trying to be badass by naming himself after lightning is ever going to be able to replace Mr. Erect Penis. I mean Solid Snake. Gritty, hardcore, and every other word that I can't think of right now that could be used to describe how awesome this guy is. Solid Snake is all of the above. I've always thought that Solid Snake is what Duke Nukem aspires to be. See, I love Duke as well, but it always feels like Duke's constantly being followed around by his ego, which strokes his hair every 5 seconds that tells him that he's a big boy badass. Whereas this never happens with Snake. He just is a badass. No one needs to say it because it's obvious from the second you see him. Even in Metal Gear Solid 4 when Otacon goes on about how Snake handled different situations in MGS1, and Snake's all like, so what, that's not important. Yeah, blowing up a grenade-proof tank with grenades and shooting down a stealth helicopter in a blizzard on top of a tower and then abseiling down the tower while it explodes isn't worth a mention. One more point I'd like to mention before I stop coming all over your computer screen that proves that he's great, is even when he's about to die, and all old and decrepit, he's still called upon to save the world. The world governments and paramilitary groups have no one better to save the world because the ultimate soldier is still alive, despite being into bingo all of a sudden.
And done.
Certainly is, but if you're about to start having a go at me for not mentioning your favourite characters, then go fuck yourself with an iron cucumber. But if you don't have an iron cucumber, then like and subscribe to my channel. Because I said so. Stay tuned for more top 10 videos and lore-based series coming up. See you soon.